You've built dashboard before, chart, slicer, KPI, or layout. But when someone opens it, they get lost. Not because the data is wrong, but because the story is missing. And that's the hard truth. A dashboard without the story is just noise. Great dashboard don't just display number, they guide user through a journey that reveals the insight behind the data. In these videos, I'll show you the important step that most analysts skipped: data storytelling. And you will learn why every great dashboard starts with this one step. Hi, my name is Lynn. I'm a senior data analyst with real-world experience in banking and logistics industry. Over the years, I've helped business turn messy chaos data into dashboards that drive decisions. On this channel, I share practical, hands-on tutorials that help you to work smarter with data. So, if you want to dive into the world of data, build dashboards that are clear, impactful, and actually get used, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and let's level up your data game together. If this is the first time you're here, welcome to the Excel Property Timesheet Analysis Project. This is a full end-to-end analytic project where we help a fast-growing property chain transform and analyze their messy timesheet data to draw actionable insights. And we've reached the final stage, visualizing data to help users quickly interpret the results. In the previous episode, we started by building basic visuals. We then move on to advanced visual, including custom chart and KPI in data model. But visual alone are not enough. Today, we're taking the next big steps. We're going to bring all those pieces together into a structured dashboard that tells a complete story, allowing Excel property management team to make data-driven decisions. The first step in data storytelling is storyboarding, and that's exactly where we'll begin. We'll sketch out a narrative story that maps the flows of the dashboard to guide users through the visual, turning data into a clear and engaging story. Then we will recreate that storyboard in Excel. Throughout the process, you will learn how to work with different types of objects in Excel, including charts, pivot tables, and dynamic images. Specifically, how to migrate them into the dashboard without shifting anything out of place. And as a bonus for today's videos, you will also learn how to build a fully interactive dashboard where users can drill down and focus on the section that they care about. And finally, I will show you a simple trick to create dynamic titles that respond to user inputs. Before we start, don't forget to grab the data file. You will find a link in the description box below. I've also added the chapter marker so you can jump to any section that you need. Take your time, pause, rewind, or rewatch whenever you need it. And if you missed the earlier videos, I've dropped the link right here so you can catch up first. Ready to build a dashboard that tells a story? Let's dive into it. Let's begin the storyboarding process by defining our narrative flow. First is to introduce the storyline. What is the analysis about? Well, we're exploring timesheet data from Excel property, and our goal is to understand the business and how employees are utilizing their time to uncover opportunities that help improve operations and drive smarter decisions. With key metrics tell the story of employees' absenteeism and attendance. This gives us a structured lens to explore how resources are utilized when business is operates. Now that we've shaped the narrative, let's think about how to lay it out visually to guide the user through the story. When it comes to storytelling, placement matters. People naturally read from left to right and from top to bottom. So the top left corner is the most valuable estate on the page, and that's exactly where we'll start our story. We'll begin by introducing the project, the timesheet analysis. Next, will provide the high-level overview about the company to set the stage. This will help the audience to understand the business context before diving into detailed analysis. This includes total number of stores, number of employees, key employees demographic breakdown, and a high-level summary of how time is being spent across the company. Once the context is clear, we'll guide the user into the performance analysis. We'll organize this section around two core categories. The first one is absence, where we'll track holiday and sickness rates. And the second one is attendance, where we're measuring compliance and overtime rate. Each categories will be explored across three levels of granularity: the company overview, breakdown by store, and individual employees level. This layer structure ensures that the story flows smoothly throughout the dashboard, from big picture, then narrowing it down, all the way to specific action. And the key here is we've kept a consistent structure across all visuals. That sense of familiarity makes it much easier for user to understand the data quickly and interpret the insight with confidence. We have our storyboard mapped out with a clear narrative. We also strategically place all the visuals on the canvas, from high-level overview to more granular detail. Now let's head back to Excel and bring our dashboard to life. Let's start by sketching out the layout directly on the worksheet. This will act as our blueprint, making it easier to place each chart and object exactly where it belongs. The top section is for our logo, title, and control. Below that, we'll show the company level information, and then we'll build our performance matrix, splitting it into absent section and attendant or working section. Each sections are further broken down across three levels: company-wide, store level, and individual level. And to make our layout a little bit more clear, let's do some quick formats. First, I'm going to merge all the section header. Select the cell you want to merge. Now go to Home, click Merge and Center. Now do the same for all the sections and subsection headers. Second, I'm going to rotate the section header vertically so that they fit better in the merge area. Select the area you want to apply the change. Now go to Home. Under Orientation, choose Rotate Text Up. Now you can see the text orientation has flipped from horizontal to vertical. Now quickly center align the text and adjust the font size. I'm also going to make it bold for better readability. Quickly reassign the column width for the section and subsection. Now for the breakdown matrix, also merge the headers and apply some format. Alright, finally, let's add some more color to make each section stand out. For the overview sections, I'm gonna go with the black background and a white text. Do the same for attendance or working section. For absent, we'll go with the dark gray so that we can visually separate the two performance measurement themes. And for all other subsections, I'll go with the light gray and the white text to give it a bit structure without overwhelming the view. Now that the structure is in place, let's start dragging in our graphs and charts and place them into the right section. Let's start with the chart we've already created. In General Sheet, click on any of the objects. Now on your keyboard, click Ctrl-A to select all the objects at once. Use the shortcut Ctrl-X to cut all the visual from this sheet. Now head over to our dashboard and press Ctrl-V to paste them. Now let's organize these visuals into the overview sections. I'm gonna arrange them into 3 blocks: the store information, employees information, and the age information. Also, move the actual versus planned workday waterfall chart right here at the top corner. Now head over to the variant sheets and move all the gauge chart to the dashboard. Now arrange the chart to the corresponding section. And also bring all the slicer to the front for easy interaction. Alright, now that we've put all the charts in their place, it's time to bring in the visual from the store and the individual matrix. Unlike graphs and charts, pivot table and formulas area are in-cells visuals, so the technique we'll use to move them will be a little bit different. Let's start by preparing our pivot table so that they are clean, consistent, and dashboard ready. We don't want user to accidentally modify the filters and shift the layout of the pivot table. So let's turn off the field header. Go to Pivot Table Analyze ribbon and untick the field headers. And do the same for the right pivot table. Now looking at the icon column, the displayed name of the measure is unnecessary because it is repetitive information from the main measures and it takes quite some space, so we don't want to show this. The trick is to simply type the space on top of the measure name as the placeholder. Doing it this way doesn't affect the underlying measure, it only changes the visual impact. Now we can simply adjust the format of all the columns. Now let's make both pivot tables look like one united visual. Notice that even though these two pivot tables are breakdown by the store name and store ID, they are essentially representing the same information. And both of them are sorted by the store ID because we've set this up in the data model in the previous episode. So we are sure that the format of the pivot table will not shift. In short, it is not necessary to show the store ID again, so let's hide this column. Now, if you noticed, the left pivot table only has one level header, while the right pivot table has two level headers. Let's make them look symmetrical. Simply copy an empty cell of the header from the right pivot and paste them on top of the left pivot to create the two level headers effect. Alright, much better. Now we have a united and more focused visual, breakdown by store. I will repeat this cleanup process for the rest of the pivot tables in the sheet. Alright, now that all the pivot tables are formatted, it's time to move them to our dashboard. But before we do that, here's the pro tip that makes your life much easier. Go to the View ribbon, click New Window. Now you can see that we have two views of the exact same Excel file. This allows you to see multiple sheets at the same time, making it way easier to move the objects between different sheets. Alright, let's get started. First, select the entire pivot range. Now press Ctrl X. Switch to the dashboard sheet and paste it right here. But as you see, due to the difference in column width, the format of the pivot table is distorted, and we don't want to reformat it again. So let me show you another trick. Go back to the original range of the pivot table, click Ctrl C to copy. Now back in the dashboard, select the pivot table range. Now on your keyboard, press Ctrl Alternate V. A paste special pop-up appears. This will allow you to control what properties you want to copy from the original range. In our case, we want to copy the column width. Now hit OK. Perfect. Now we have our pivot table. Move to the dashboard with the exact same layout. Now that we have the right setup, I'm going to go ahead and bring the rest of the pivot table to our dashboard. Alright, time to move the final type of objects, in-cell images, to our dashboard. We could apply the same methods like we did with the pivot table, but as you can see, the visual is too big compared to the pivot table, and it is very difficult to reformat, especially resize our visual because of the merge cells. And I'd rather not spending time reformat everything from scratch. So let's undo the steps and try a much cleaner approach. First, select the area you want to display it. Now, press Ctrl C to copy it. Head over to the dashboard sheet. Select the destination cell. Now, in Home, click the drop-down under Paste and choose Paste as Picture Link. What we've now created is an image object linked directly to the original range. And because it is a picture, you can freely resize it without messing up the surrounding cells. And it fits easily alongside other visual like charts and slicers. And here's the best part. If I click on a slicer, the original data is updated. As a result, this image updates automatically too. It's like a live snapshot of the original range. Now, notice that the image brings in some of the grid line from the original sheet. So let's fix that. Go to the original sheet. In View, uncheck the grid line. And now the image looks much cleaner. Now let's bring over other images. And we don't want to repeat the whole formatting process from the beginning. So let me show you another trick. Just copy the image object and paste it to the section below. Now take a look at the formula bar. It shows the linked cell range. It means that if we update the range in the formula bar, the image will dynamically change, referencing exactly the range we want to display. I'm gonna go ahead and update the range for other images. And just like that, we've got multiple embedded images. Each show exactly what we want to display. And best of all, they are updating live and super easy to manage. No layout issue, no reformatting. It just cleaned dynamic visual ready for our dashboard. Alright, now that we've placed all of our visuals according to the storyboard, everything looks aligned, but let's be honest, it's not exactly user-friendly just yet. Right now, the user has to scroll up and down to compare the difference between the sections, and it's easy to get lost in the visuals. So here's a thought. What if we could make the dashboard interactive, allow users to focus only on the section they want to see, while hiding the rest to reduce clutter? For example, let's say we want to focus only on the performance matrix and skip the overview section. Wouldn't it be great if we could collapse and expand the section as we need? Let's make this happen. Before we can collapse anything, we need to set the right visual properties. So select any visual object in the sheet. Now press Ctrl A to select all the objects. Press Ctrl 1 to open the Format panel. Now go to Size and Properties. Under Properties, click Move and Size with Cells. This will allow the visual object to collapse or expand with the row they are sitting on, just like the in-cell object. Let's try this out. I'm gonna hide the overview section to focus only on performance. And you see that the charts within those rows collapse along with the sales. Now, one thing I want to mention is make sure that your visual are fully signed within the row's boundary. If the chart spilled over a hidden row, even slightly, it won't disappear completely, as you can see in this case. So to fix this, we're gonna need to select all the gauge charts, go to Shaped Format. Now set the height to 6.85 centimeter. And as you can see, the chart fits nicely within the rows area we want to hide. So when we hide the section, the visual collapses perfectly. But hiding row manually this way is not ideal because user might miss that something is hidden in the sheet and it's not very intuitive. So let's create an interactive row groups so users can expand or collapse the sections with just a simple click. Select the rows you want to group, go to Data, select Groups, or simply press Shift Alternate and the arrow to the right. Now you see a minus icon on the left. Click it to collapse the section and click the plus icon to expand the section. Easy, right? Now I'm going to repeat the same process for all the section. And I'm going to use the shortcut Shift Alternate arrow to the right. Also quickly create some fill empty columns between the visual for spacings and adjust the side and align the charts. Alright, let's test this out. Now if I want to focus only on sickness and overtime rates, I can simply collapse all other area and the dashboard become clean, focused, and way easier to navigate. And just like that, we've added a whole new layer of interactivity to our dashboard without any complex coding or external tool. I'm gonna turn off the grid line so we can have a clean view on the visual displayed in the dashboard. Now, let's start with the card visuals formatting. A quick tips here: to select multiple objects like in PowerPoint, go to Home, Find and Select. Select Objects. Now you can select all the card visual in one go. Alright, let's apply some format to make these figures stand out. Align the texts, increase the font size, make it bold, and remove the background and border. Now, let's repeat the same cleanup for the rest of the charts. I'm gonna remove the chart borders and background color. For the standard charts, it is straightforward, but for non-standard visual, like when you have to group charts with text box, be careful. You have to click twice to make sure that you select the chart itself and not the entire groups. This will ensure that you only format what you needed. Let's move on to the chart title. Instead of keeping the default chart title, I'm going to replace them with the custom title. Because this way, we will have more control over the formatting. It is easier to align and rearrange the visual later. For the overview part, quickly remove the chart titles and replace them with the title created from the text box. Drag and draw the text box. Input the title. Quickly remove background and border. Now duplicate these text box titles for other visuals and align them properly. And we're done with the overview charts titles. Moving on to the performance part. I'm also going to remove the chart title from the gauge chart here. But this time, I'll be adding the title directly to the cells above the chart. First, I'm going to quickly format the title area. Make the row bigger. Adjust the font size And I'm gonna highlight it with the light color tone so we can visibly see where the title should go. Now do the same for other visuals. Second, I'm going to put the chart title directly in the cell. For the overall performance, I'm gonna call this holiday rates. For the store performance, we have yearly overview and quarterly breakdown. And for individual performance, we're displaying top 3 employees who still have unused holiday. Final touch, highlight the title in bold so they stand out. And quickly add some indentation for the holiday rates and quarter breakdown so we have the same effect across the title. We finally have a nice structure. Let's replicate it for the rest of the performance charts. Simply copy the entire line and paste it between the gap. And update the title accordingly. Quickly move the visual down a little bit to create some breathing space. Alright, now if you remember, for holiday rate, we have 2 measures, the yearly holiday rate and the year-to-date Q3 holiday rates. So we need the title to also be dynamically changed when the user interacts with the slicer. For example, if I click on year-to-date Q3, the title should change to year-to-date Q3 overview. Alright, let's go back to our calculation sheet. I'm going to add the measure right here in this pivot table. We previously used the formula explain measure that returned the input from the slicer. So let's reuse and modify that measure. Now in the DAX formula, delete what we don't need. I'm going to rename the first variable to selection and create another variable called results, where we will adjust the display of the selection variable with the if function. So type in if, and the condition is if the selection variable returns nothing, then we will return yearly as a standard result. If not, we will return the selected value from the selection variable, followed by the word overview. Now return the result variable. Quickly rename the measure to holiday rate selection. Check DAX formula, no error. Now hit OK. And go back to our dashboard. Alright, now let's link our title to the result of this measure. Let's test this out. And everything worked as expected. In today's videos, you've learned how to build a story before building the dashboard itself, using storyboard to map out the narrative flow, structure your content, and guide your audience through the insights step by step. This is the foundation that turns scattered visual into a cohesive experience and help your dashboard go from just data to something actually drive decision. Now that we have the storyline in place and our visuals are also aligned, the next step is dashboard design. And we will kick things off with the most powerful technique, using color. In the next videos, you've learned how to use color not just to make things pretty, but to segment your dashboard, draw attention to what matters, and create a visual rhythm that's actually easy to follow. Trust me, this will completely change how users experience your dashboard. If you find today's tutorial helpful, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to my channel for more practical data tutorial. If you have any questions or want to share your own data storytelling approach, drop in the comment below. I would love to hear from you. See you in the next video where we'll bring the dashboard to life with color.